Welcome to the Deep Dive, the show that takes a stack of sources, extracts the core wisdom, and gives you a shortcut to being instantly well-informed. Today, we are cracking the code on leadership and management mastery. And, well, the results are not what you might expect. Our deep dive is built entirely around the principles from Gino Wickman and René Boer's leadership guide, How to Be a Great Boss.
That's right. And the mission here is really to move past theory. This source material, it lays out a comprehensive 10-chapter operating manual. It's designed to give you incredibly specific, practical tools. So whether you're a new team lead or managing a whole division, we are distilling the actionable steps you need to manage, to motivate, and critically to hold people accountable without losing your mind or your team's respect.
Okay, let's unpack this immediately because the foundational shift they propose, it's less about doing more work. It's more about fundamentally changing how you view your role. The entire book seems to suggest that being a great boss is about coaching and mentoring, not just, giving orders. It's a transition from being a glorified task manager to being a true motivator, an empowerer.
And that perspective shift dictates everything that comes next. The core requirements in Chapter 1. An outstanding leader, they recognize their primary job is to create an environment where the team can succeed on its own. And this requires three crucial interconnected pillars. First one is trust. And this isn't some warm, fuzzy feeling. It's a measurable outcome built on total honesty and absolute consistency. If you set an expectation, you have to meet it, period.
Okay, and the second is clear and open communication. That's how you set those expectations, make sure everyone's aligned. But hold on a minute. If the goal is to build deep trust and empathy, which we know the source material really emphasizes, how do you reconcile that with the third pillar they talk about? Relentless accountability. Doesn't deep empathy sometimes make it harder to hold the line on tough standards?
That's a great question. And that's where the consistency piece comes right back in. See, trust isn't about being nice. It's about being predictable. You hold everyone accountable, including yourself, by setting clear, known goals and then following up relentlessly. Accountability is what tells the team that the rules apply equally to everyone, which paradoxically strengthens the trust, gets rid of all that ambiguity that erodes confidence.
I see. So accountability equals respect for the process. Chapter 2 then seems to focus on the necessary internal qualities, the things you need inside to sustain that external consistency. And they start with self-awareness.
Exactly. Great bosses have to understand their own strengths, their own weaknesses, and commit to continuous improvement. If you try to lead from a place of insecurity, your team will spot it instantly. And this links directly to having a vision and being decisive.
Right. You have to have a clear vision, communicate it well, and then make decisions confidently, quickly. That inability to decide, that dragging of feet, it creates so much more chaos and confusion than just making a decent decision swiftly.
And underpinning all of it is empathy. You have to relate to and truly understand the human beings on your team. You need to know their motivations, their strengths, their pain points. What's fascinating here is that the entire methodology insists that good leadership starts with knowing yourself and having a clear goal before you even try to lead others. I mean, if we connect this to the bigger picture, you have to be responsible for your own actions before you could hold a team accountable for theirs.
So if that foundation is set, you know yourself, you have a vision, you've built procedural trust, how do we start translating that into, well, massive organizational efficiency? Here's where it gets really interesting, diving into the tactical tools.
Chapter 3 introduces one of the most useful concepts in the book, delegate and elevate. And this is not just a suggestion, it's a necessary mechanism for growth.
The goal is beautifully simple, but it is so hard to execute. It's about concentrating the leader's time on what they are truly good at, their highest and best use, and what matters most to the organization's mission. I mean, if you are doing tasks that others can do, you are basically stealing time from your own leadership role.
The book provides the structure for this. It's a 4-part chart, which they say is mandatory for every boss to complete. You sort all your tasks into 4 buckets, things you love and are great at. That's the elevate quadrant. Then there are things you don't like and are not good at. That's the delegate or eliminate quadrant. Those are the easy calls.
But the nuance is in the middle, right? What about the things you like and are good at? Or the things you don't like but are good at? That's where I think most bosses get stuck.
Precisely. The things you like good at are often the maintenance tasks, the core engine room of the business. You maintain those, but you look for ways to systemize them. The things you don't like good at, those are the productivity traps. You excel at them, so you just keep doing them, but they drain your energy. These are the immediate candidates for delegation or automation because they destroy your joy and stop you from elevating to your highest impact zone. Delegation, in this context, is empowerment. It's not just offloading work.
And that framework leads directly into Chapter 4, building the right team. Because delegation only works if you have the right people to delegate to. This means hiring based not just on skills, but critically on their fit with the company culture and core values. If they don't share your core values, that structural foundation we just talked about, it just collapses under stress.
Absolutely. The best team in the world will underperform if its members are fundamentally misaligned on how they work together. And building that team isn't static. It requires continuous assessment. The sources stress the need for regular performance checks, providing necessary training, changing roles if someone is clearly a better fit somewhere else, or, when necessary, having that tough conversation and letting go of those who just don't fit the team's goals or values.
That structural efficiency then demands a certain conceptual clarity, which Chapter 5 provides. It's the distinction between leadership and management. Both are essential, and they have to be perfectly balanced. That's the hard part.
Leadership is this strategic work, creating and sharing the vision to motivate the team toward a future state. It's the motivational why and the directional where. Management is the tactical work, carrying out that vision, ensuring responsibility, providing resources, setting clear expectations. It's the operational how. You have to balance communicating the grand vision with providing the necessary resources, all while promoting open communication without falling into the trap of micromanagement. That's the tightrope walk.
So if the first 5 chapters set the foundation, Chapters 6 and 7 provide the sort of essential daily playbook.
Exactly. The sources break the work down into 2 distinct sets of actionable practices, 5 for leading and 5 for managing. This raises a really important question for any boss trying to implement this. Are you consciously applying both equally every week? Or are you just retreating to the comfort of one over the other?
Let's start with the 5 leadership practices from Chapter 6. These are highly strategic and use these great sticky analogies. First, setting a vision, the captain guiding the ship.
Second, providing resources. That's equipping the crew with maps and equipment, making sure your team has the tools, the training, and the support they need to even attempt the mission you set out.
Third, delegating responsibility, or as they call it, letting go of the vine. Letting them steer the ship while you focus on the bigger picture.
Yeah.
This is where most managers fail, right? Holding on to tasks because they think, I can just do it faster myself.
It's a huge trap.
Yeah.
Fourth is acting for the greater good. This means ensuring that every decision you make, no matter how small, benefits the whole organization, not just your personal comfort or, a single department's siloed success.
And the final one, taking clarity breaks. This is a critical detail the book really emphasizes. The leader must intentionally mandate 60 to 90 minutes of time every single week where they are unproductive.
Not checking email, not taking calls. They were actively stepping back to reflect on their vision and strategies, like checking a compass to make sure they haven't drifted. But how does a busy boss justify that time? It's a mandatory commitment to strategic thinking. The time is justified because, without that clarity break, the leader inevitably defaults to management tasks, to fighting fires, and stops leading. During this time, they should focus only on big-picture questions. Are we still on track? Where are the bottlenecks? What's the next big leap? It ensures you're working on the business, not just in it.
Okay, now we shift to the 5 management practices in Chapter 7. These focus squarely on execution and measurable success, making sure the vision actually happens.
First, setting clear expectations, defining roles, responsibilities, specific goals so everyone knows exactly what is required. Second, regular communication, often through weekly meetings to discuss progress and promptly address issues. Consistency is the key ingredient here.
And third is providing timely and specific feedback. This is a huge failure point for so many bosses. If you tell someone, good job on that presentation, it's just vague and unhelpful. Timely and specific feedback sounds more like the way you structured the data slide on page 5 gave us the exact clarity we needed to move forward on the budget proposal. That's a model for next time. It has to be actionable.
Fourth, holding people accountable. This means addressing performance issues promptly, using agreed-upon metrics to track progress, and sticking to the standards we talked about in Chapter 1. If someone consistently misses expectations, you have to address it. You can't ignore it, or you damage the trust of your high performers.
And fifth, investing in team development. Provide training, opportunities for growth. This is how you retain talent and increase your capacity long-term. Mastering these 5 management practices is what turns a great leader, the visionary, into an effective boss, the executor.
Right. And the sources insist that continuous execution requires a structured mechanism for oversight. Which brings us to Chapter 8, the quarterly conversation. This highlights the necessity of a planned, mandatory and documented conversation every 90 days
Why 90 days?
because it ensures timely and relevant feedback.
So it prevents those small, manageable issues from becoming big, systemic problems that just blindside you and the employee at the year-end review. So this is about prevention and correction, not just annual evaluation.
And crucially, this quarterly conversation has to be two-way. It focuses equally on performance metrics and personal growth. The boss should be prepared to give hard, specific feedback, but must also invite the team member to share their own thoughts, their concerns, their needs. This regularity, it builds trust through predictability.
And that documentation piece, it can't be skipped. You have to document key points, goals, action items. That creates undeniable accountability and provides a reference point for the next conversation 3 months down the line. It turns a simple chat into a formalized agreement.
Chapter 9 then addresses the inevitable difficult side of people management, the 4 people issues. It's here that the empathy from Chapter 2 collides with the accountability from Chapter 1.
These issues are the hardest things a boss has to deal with. First, hiring the right people. This means a thorough process focused obsessively on skills and culture fit. You're hiring for the long haul.
Second, firing the wrong ones. The source material is brutally honest here. This is difficult, but necessary. Allowing an underperforming or culturally misaligned person to stay on is a betrayal of the rest of the team's hard work and their morale. It has to be done swiftly and ethically, but it must be done.
Third, ensuring everyone is in the right role. Matching individual strength and passions to the tasks they perform. I mean, if someone is great at finance but hates talking to clients, forcing them into sales just kills productivity for everyone. You have to be willing to shift roles to optimize the team's collective strength.
And finally, keeping a positive work culture. This is achieved by the boss consistently leading by example. If you demonstrate the core values every single day, the culture follows. If you cut corners, the team cuts corners. Simple as that.
Chapter 10 brings it all together with a final word on people, which really reiterates the ultimate conclusion of this entire deep dive.
Your team is your most valuable asset. Full stop. Recognizing and nurturing their potential is crucial for organizational success, and the boss must always strive to improve their own leadership and management skills. Seeking feedback, learning from experiences, being open to change. The entire cycle hinges on the leader's capacity for self-awareness and self-improvement.
And the goal really is to create an environment characterized by empathy, open communication, celebration of success, and genuine support through challenges. It's about moving from thinking I told them what to do to I gave them what they needed to thrive. So what does this all mean for you, the learner? We started with the idea of shifting from ordering to coaching. The essential actions are clear. Rigorously apply the delegate and elevate tool. Hire specifically for values and culture fit. Relentlessly balance your strategic leadership work with your tactical management work. And implement structured documented review via the quarterly conversations every 90 days. Continuous, self-driven improvement is the engine for the leader.
And that leads to a final provocative thought, connecting the concepts of personal accountability and structured reflection. We spent time detailing the leader's internal proactive clarity breaks in Chapter 6, that vital strategic reflection time. Simultaneously, you have to set up the mandatory, external, and documented performance reviews, the quarterly conversation in Chapter 8. For you, the boss, the tension is this. How do you perfectly balance the internal need for quiet, focused reflection, which is naturally unproductive, with the external discipline need for constant, structured team communication and accountability, ensuring one doesn't undercut the other?
That's the tension where real leadership mastery lives. It's the difference between working on yourself and working with your team. Thank you for joining us in this deep dive into being a great boss. We hope these insights help you coach, motivate, and elevate your team today.